This is part 64 of my series on my Engage Model Railway project. Previous parts covered the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part deals with work I did on another station on my layout, modelling it on the former LMS station at Uppingham in Rutland. Some time ago I picked up a bunch of old Lone Star model railway stuff from a local seller on Kijiji. I tried a Lone Star station and signal box on the layout. I thought that they were kind of cute in a retro modelling sort of way, even if they were also a bit naff, so my feelings were mixed. I did repaint them somewhat to reduce the naff factor a bit and make them fit in better with the rest of the layout. Here's the station as repainted and the signal box. And they stood on the layout in this form for quite a while, whilst quite a variety of trains visited, and various other scenic changes happened on the layout. Then I picked up this assortment of items from tiny railroads in Delhi, Ontario. Scotty turned up a bunch of old British Engage kits that he didn't know he had, and I brought home quite a few of them, including the prototype LMS station kit at bottom centre. I had to get that one, as the LMS is my family's railway and very much the central theme of my layout. I have to say, when I got the kit out of its packaging, it was a bit daunting at first, requiring a lot of very detailed manual cutting and some complex assembly. The instructions, too, were both intriguing and daunting. I had real trouble understanding what was intended by some of the directions. But the prototype of the kit was particularly interesting to me, as it was specifically based on the old LMS station at Uppingham in Rutland, as illustrated at top. Now, I grew up on the east side of Leicester. I didn't really visit Uppingham very often, but in a way Uppingham was very much part of my childhood, as the A47, named the Uppingham Road, was the main road running out of Leicester to the east, just at the end of the road my family lived on. I started building this kit with the front wall of the station as directed, and honestly this did nothing to relieve my doubts about the kit. It was frankly a bugger just to assemble this wall, and considerable cogitation was required to figure out what the assembly instructions were trying to say. A combination of card pieces and transparent glazing pieces manually cut out with plastic pieces was used. Then there were a bunch of these tiny card plinth pieces to be cut out and glued to the base of the walls. Here's the front wall with all of its plinth pieces in place. And now the back wall is done as well, not quite so tricky as no doors were involved. I wasn't all that happy with the job I'd made of these walls. It was quite a struggle getting the pieces to fit together at all neatly. This, combined with the fact that I really couldn't understand the instructions for assembling the roof and canopy, caused me to put this kit aside for a while at this point, whilst I worked on other things. I returned to the prototype kit a couple of weeks later, and I believe I figured out how the roof and canopy were supposed to be assembled. I had a devil of a time with the plastic supports for the canopy, as they were extremely thin and moulded out of plastic that was so brittle that detaching them from the sprue without breaking them was close to impossible. This may have been partially due to the age of the kit, as I imagine it had been sitting around for quite a few years before I obtained it. I did break several of the supports despite using every tool and technique I could think of to get them detached and ready for use. You can see one on the middle that's incomplete, as when it broke, part of it flew away and I couldn't find the part. Once the canopy was assembled, the roof and skylights needed to be added, as well as the plastic chimneys. I was honestly doubtful whether it would be possible to fold and glue the skylights as directed, but that, whilst not easy, did not turn out to be quite as challenging as I feared. So now the basic building was assembled and not looking too bad. I wasn't initially too sure what to do about the chimneys, which were cast in the same dark brown plastic as the canopy supports, but these weren't a breakage problem as they were chunky parts. I just painted them with a brick colour and was reasonably happy with how they turned out. I put black paint on tops of the chimneys rather than trying to cut or drill them out. I was quite pleased with how the skylight pieces came together. The kit was just for the station building and didn't include anything in the way of a platform. I was intending to use this station as a replacement for the Lone Star station on the layout, as much as anything else because I wanted to use this Uppingham station and there really wasn't anywhere else on the layout that it could go. Well, it could have replaced Scraptoft or Bilston, but the Lone Star station was obviously a more suitable candidate for replacement than those. So I tried the building out in place and used some paper to make a template for a platform. In hindsight, I should have made the platform a little bigger. There just wasn't much room. Even in N-gauge, overly short platforms tend to be the norm, I'm afraid. Here's my template cut out. The intention was to use this to create a platform using the Metcalfe platform kit materials. I had both Metcalfe brick and stone platform kits on hand. And here is the platform coming together from the Metcalfe kit. These Metcalfe platform kits are very flexible and could be used with a little ingenuity to create virtually any platform you could possibly want. I went with the brick platform edging in this case, though stone is also available. And now both the front and back faces of the platform are in place and braced. Now it just needs a little finishing off on top. The adhesive edging strips really improve the appearance, although getting them to stay stuck down can be a bit of a problem. And here is the building on the platform in place. I really did make the platform barely long enough. I should probably have made it at least an inch or so longer, even though there isn't much room for it. And here's the station seen over the viaduct from the roadside. Could probably do with some more work there at some point. It's actually a bit hard to see this station since it's behind the viaduct from the point of view of the layout controls. And here it is being visited by its first train. Unfortunately, the platform will only fit 2 carriages, which is really too short even for a small country station. I did a little more work on the station building, adding some notice boards that came with the kit, and some other signs and LMS posters from Tiny Signs. Of course, these details are pretty hard to see since the canopy tends to hide them. But still, I thought it was worth trying. That's the gents' toilet at the end, and I did put a sign over the door, though you can't really read it. So this is pretty much the final form of the station building. I could have added more signs along the front, but they'd really never be seen under the canopy. And here it is back on the platform. It's hard to manage a flash picture under the viaduct, and I see that platform edging is coming unstuck again. Overall, I think it was worth doing this, even if the station is a bit small and oddly positioned. There were still a few things I wanted to do. I felt that the Lone Star signal box should really be replaced now, and the station needed some signals and station name boards. I found some pictures of the real Uppingham station, and it turned out that the name boards were actually positioned at an angle on the far side of the tracks. I set about making my own name boards. I did have some cast white metal name boards on hand, but they weren't really the right shape, so I made something out of thick card, painted. I printed up the names themselves on my computer. Meanwhile, I also assembled a couple of signals from P&D Marsh white metal kits. Not terribly well, I'm afraid. I can see a couple of errors I've made, but they probably won't look too bad on the layout. And here are the signs assembled. Well, nearly. I decided they would look better if I added top pieces to them. And here's one of the signs on the layout, photographed through the viaduct, as that's unfortunately almost the only way of seeing it properly. Or here, just looking over the viaduct. And here's the sign on the far side of the station, still with a Lone Star box in place at this point. Here you can see where I've placed both station signs, about the best I could manage. Here's the one under the viaduct again, and over the viaduct, with a Daypol M7 with some Southern four-wheel coaches in the station. Here are the signals after painting and adding jewels for the lamp lenses. I've made them upper, but they were really meant to be lower quadrant. And here's one serving as entry to the station, and the other for leaving, if you're going in that direction, which I consider the primary direction of this line, though trains do go both ways. Finally, I replaced the Lone Star box with one built from a Metcalfe kit. I was in two minds whether to use this large box or the smaller Metcalfe box. This box does seem a bit large for such a small station. So that's about it for now. I'm not sure about that other little platform on the far side of the tracks. It's just another little oddment that I picked up from tiny railroads and placed there for now, but it's a bit strange and may not remain. Well, there you are. That's it for Uppingham Station for now.